Please raise your right hand, sir. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
Yes.
You may take your seat. You may inquire when you're ready, state.
Sir, please introduce yourself and spell your name.
I'm Jeffrey Lacasse, pardon me, Jeffrey-Lacasse.
How are you employed?
I'm an associate professor at Florida State University.
How long have you been at FSU?
Since 2013, so 11 years now, 12 years now.
Have you always lived here in Tallahassee?
I was here from 2000 to 2008 pursuing my doctorate, and I went to Arizona State for 5 years, and I came back in the fall of 2013 when all this happened.
Okay. And back in that time frame, did you have a relationship with Wendi Adelson?
I did.
When did that relationship begin?
We started dating in late September of 2013.
Okay. What was the nature of the relationship?
At first, it was very casual. We weren't exclusive. After Halloween, things started to accelerate. That's the fall of 2013. And then by late February, early March, we were an exclusive couple.
When did the relationship end?
It's a little tricky, but I would mark it at around July 14th,
Okay,
2014.
Around the time of the homicide or shortly before?
Right before, yes.
During the time that you were dating Wendi Adelson, did you become aware of her divorce
I did.
and the litigation surrounding the divorce and subsequent to the divorce? Were you familiar with that as well?
Yes, it was a constant topic of conversation.
Were you aware that it was an unusually difficult or nasty divorce?
I was.
And during the time that you were dating her, were you aware that litigation was still pending during that time frame?
Yes.
Was there a specific item of litigation that was a common topic during the time you were dating Mrs. Adelson?
Well, as far as what she discussed, there were multiple. The relocation motion had just been denied a couple months before we started dating, so that was still very much on Wendy's mind. That came up a lot. Then there were the custody issues with the kids, of course.
Okay. Did you know Dan Markel?
I met him briefly a couple times.
Was that in the context of you being the new boyfriend and exchange of the kids kind of
Exactly. Picking up the kids, swimming lessons one time. Never spoke to him for more than 2 or 3 minutes.
The interaction that you did have with him, were those cordial?
It was polite and cordial.
Did you have any issues with him other than things that Wendi was telling you?
I sort of adopted the Adelson family narrative. I kind of believed what Wendi was telling me. And Wendi and I also had mutual friends from when I was here before, and they had sort of adopted that narrative as well. So I didn't have a personal beef with Dan Markel, but I did believe sort of the Adelson family story about Dan Markel.
Which is that he was making it very difficult for Wendi. He was a difficult person.
Yes.
If you know, did Wendi Adelson want to relocate to South Florida?
Yes, she did, very badly.
And why did she want to relocate to South Florida?
She preferred to be down there with her family. She also hated Tallahassee. That's in my original, police statements. It was almost a daily topic of conversation how much she disliked Tallahassee. So it was both. She really disliked Tallahassee. She preferred to be in Miami. On our second date, she broke into tears talking about relocation and abruptly ended the date. I mean, it was still very visceral, very important to her.
All right, and that was shortly after the relocation had been denied, is that right?
Yeah, that would have been last week of September, so a couple months after. It was fresh then, yeah.
Okay, and were you specifically familiar during that time with the litigation seeking to limit Donna Adelson's exposure to the kids, or to have her be supervised in the presence of the kids because Dan was alleging that she had made disparaging remarks about him to the children?
Yes, I was aware of that.
How
yeah.
did you become aware of that?
Oh, multiple ways, Wendi talking about it. And it's hard to remember which exact emails and motions I was forwarded, but definitely Wendy's talking about it for sure, and perhaps I was sent court materials.
Okay, were you also shown things in her presence?
Yes.
All right, and if you know, did Wendi take that particular filing seriously? Was she upset about that or worried about that?
Yes, every time there was a motion, they took it very seriously, and I'd reported to the police that it was disruptive on the relationship because every time something was filed, dates would get canceled, Wendi would be in a mood, Wendi would be upset, so.
When you say they took it seriously, who are you referencing?
The entire family, but Wendi was the person I was having contact with.
Right.
But it was known to me that the whole family was upset.
Okay, and how do you deduce that it's a they and not just a Wendi? Is she in communication with the family? Is she relaying that to you? How do you know that?
For multiple,
Object, calls for speculation and opinion.
Overruled, he may testify as to his personal knowledge. You're not to repeat, however, what anyone said out of court, Mr. Lacasse.
sure. So conversations with Wendi, which were consistent, and also observing the family dynamic, which was, I described to police as a family without boundaries, that sort of not having just a shared family life than your own.
Assurance is an opinion.
Stand as to opinion.
All right, so in your observations, let's keep it specific to Donna, if you
Yes.
don't mind. Was Donna Adelson very involved in her daughter's life?
Yes, absolutely.
Was she very involved in her daughter's divorce litigation?
Yes.
And I say divorce, I know the divorce is already final, I'm
Yeah.
referencing the subsequent litigation as well.
Yes.
During the time that you were in a relationship with Wendi, did you have the occasion to meet her family?
I did.
When was that?
I met Donna, well, I met her multiple times, but Wendi had me come over to her house and had me have dinner with Donna in mid-November. So sat down and had dinner with Donna. There's about 6 or 7 other occasions that we met and or interacted. Me picking up Wendi to go on a date, and the parents would be in the living room. We went to a Hanukkah party together. We went to the circus together. Wendi's parents would use Wendi's van to transport the kids, so I would come pick Wendi up from the house to bring her to work because the parents needed the car. I met Charlie in March when I stayed with him, so that's some of the interactions.
All right. And when you met Donna here in Tallahassee, was Harvey always there as well, or would sometimes be
I don't
Donna
believe Harvey was
alone?
there. I don't believe Harvey was there that time, but he was there other times.
So did it appear to you that Donna was frequently in Tallahassee?
Donna was definitely frequently in Tallahassee between September and early May. After that, I'm not aware of her being in Tallahassee. Well, I think she was in Tallahassee quickly once or twice after that, but in terms of extended trips, there's an awful lot of moms here for a while going on between September and late April, early May.
And when Donna was here in town staying with Wendi, what was the purpose of the visits, if you know?
I think multiple purposes. The children was what almost everything revolved around, so spending time with the kids would be the main purpose that I was aware of.
All right. And you said you met Charlie. Where did you meet him?
Wendi and I went to, sorry. Wendi and I went to alternative spring break in Immokalee, Florida for spring break 2014. After we were done with that field trip of sorts, we went and stayed with Charlie at his house for one night. So I spent one evening with Charlie Adelson.
All right. And did you interact at all with Donna and or Harvey on that trip?
No, they didn't attend. We didn't go there.
Did you ever spend time with Donna Adelson in South Florida?
No,
All right. So the only times you met her were here in Tallahassee.
that's correct.
What were your interactions with Donna Adelson like?
Just a few that I recall. Sometimes they were really quick because I was just picking Wendi up. When we had dinner, we talked for maybe 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes, but it was pretty quick and just getting to know the girl who I'm interested in, her mom, so it's just that kind of thing. She excused herself from the table after like maybe 10, 12 minutes, something like that. And so
Was that a conversation where it was just the two of you seated at the table?
it was Wendi, myself, and Donna.
Okay.
Just a getting to know you type thing. Just
Okay.
ended fairly quickly.
What about Catherine Magbanua? Did you ever have an occasion to meet her?
I did. She was at the dinner at Yardbird that myself, Wendi Adelson, Katie, and Charlie were at. Yeah,
All right, and that was the night that you spent in South Florida where you met Charlie.
correct.
Was that the only time you ever met Charlie?
Only time I ever met Charlie.
Okay. And do you know the date of that visit?
I believe that's March 11th, 2014.
And how was Catherine Magbanua related to the Adelson family?
She was Charlie's new girlfriend at that dinner, is how I knew her.
Was it your impression or knowledge that this was the first meeting between Wendi Adelson and Catherine Magbanua?
That was my impression. There was a lot of getting to know you talk type stuff.
All right, at the dinner table, did the subject of Dan Markel come up?
Yeah, I don't remember a lot of specifics, but I think it came up kind of briefly. There was a lot of talk about Wendy's book. I remember that part.
And at the dinner table, did Catherine Magbanua's ex come up at all?
Yes.
Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, that stood out because Katie mentioned that she had her children's father was always getting in trouble with the police and had a violent criminal record. I'm paraphrasing, but it sounded like not parking tickets. It sounded pretty bad, and it stuck in my memory for that reason.
What happened after dinner?
We went back to Charlie's house on Well Harbor.
All right, and did Catherine Magbanua go back to Charlie's house as well?
No.
All right, so at that time, it would be just the three of you, Wendi, and Charlie?
And Charlie's then roommate, Dr. Jerome Obed.
Okay. And can you describe the residence there?
Yeah, I thought it was a nice house. Had a hot tub, had a pool.
Okay. Did you get in the hot tub that night?
We did get in the hot tub for a while.
Who all was in the hot tub?
Myself, Charlie, Wendi, and Dr. Obed at some points. And people were in and out, but those were the 4 that were in the hot tub.
And during that time, did Charlie Adelson make some comments against Dan Markel?
Yes, he didn't like Danny. That might be understating it. Yeah.
Is that the most you can remember? Was the gist was that he didn't like him?
I'm not downloading that exact quote at this moment. I remember he was fired up. It wasn't just like, I don't like Danny. It was maybe a overprotective brother anger sort of vibe to it.
Okay. And did he make some other comment about wrong side of the tracks or something?
Yeah. He's kind of
Your Honor, hearsay.
Please approach. Objection is overruled. You may continue with your line of inquiry, Ms. Kappelman.
Sir, do you remember the statement that I was referencing?
Yes, I do. There was a couple of statements in the hot tub.
Okay.
One was about the fact that Charlie knew people on both sides of the tracks, that he hung out with professionals, dentists, doctors, et cetera. But he also knew, was familiar, had social contacts that were in the criminal element. And he's kind of bragging, and he kind of specifically mentioned Cuban neighborhoods as a place where you would find that criminal element.
I want to ask you about an incident involving, I think the context is assessing Wendy's oldest child for gifted placement. Do you
Yes.
know where I'm going with that?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, could you tell the jury, please?
Wendy was looking to get her older son tested to see if he was gifted to get him placed in school. This is spring 2014. And I was trying to put her in touch with some people that could do that. And we were talking about that, and she asked me when children develop autobiographical memory.
Is your training or profession such that you have some knowledge that you could offer on that topic?
Objection, Your Honor, he's not been disclosed as an expert.
Sustained. You'll need to establish a foundation as to why this testimony could be given by this individual, Ms. Kappelman.
I'm not offering it for its truth, Judge. It goes to Ms. Adelson's state of mind and motive.
Very well. As to that purpose, I will permit it. However, as to that limited issue only, can this be considered by the jury?
So, I mean, you're not an expert on children's autobiographical memories, are you?
Not really. That's in some of the textbooks I teach out of, but I think I can keep it out of the scientific realm and explain it commonsensically, which is how I responded to Wendy. Children at age 2 have amnesia, which most parents probably realize. Between 3 and 4, kids start to develop the ability to retain memories.
Object, this is expert testimony.
As to a specific thing that goes to the state of mind of the individual you are testifying about, Mr. Lacasse, you may speak. As to your knowledge of any literature or research on this matter, I do not need you to testify on that matter.
What is your profession? What is your background?
I'm a professor of social work. I teach mental health courses.
Okay. So, Wendy asks you what?
She asked me when kids develop memory. At what age will kids start to remember what happened to them when they were a kid?
And what was your answer?
I think I said 5 or 6.
Again, this is expert testimony.
Wow.
Without the
Overruled, Mr. Zalman, sit down. You may testify concerning not the truth of the matter asserted, but how this affected the state of mind of Wendi Adelson.
Your Honor, this has not been disclosed to the defense.
Please approach. Break. The bailiff will take you to the jury room. Lacasse, if you can step down, please. Step outside the courtroom doors. Don't discuss your testimony with anyone else.
Yes, sir.
Everyone can be seated. Kappelman, how long do you think it will take to find this portion of either the deposition or material provided in discovery?
Maybe another 10 minutes, Judge?
Very well. We'll take a recess then until 9:40. Kappelman, did you find the information that you were seeking to elicit?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry I didn't have an answer for you. The cases had so many incarnations, it's hard for me to remember who knows what, but I am conceding the violation, certainly not intentional. I did not find it. Mr. Rashbaum did not depose this witness, so I'll move on.
Well, the defense requesting for the court to conduct a Richardson hearing.
It's not intentional. I would concede that. There are a lot of materials in here. I would just, if the state's gonna move on, I don't think we need to inquire further.
Well,
Should I get the witness, Judge?
one moment, briefly, so the record is clean on this topic. I will find there has been a discovery violation with regard to the testimony of Jeffrey Lacasse on the subject matter of what was discussed with Wendi Adelson concerning any issues as to the children's memories. I will find this was inadvertent, as there have been, I believe this Kappelman is the 5th or 6th trial in this,
Only the 4th, Judge.
excuse me, the 4th trial that has occurred under this set of facts, and there has been a multitude of discovery or interviews or depositions of this witness, but specifically as to this defendant being able to depose this witness on this topic, that did not take place by prior counsel or current counsel. I will find it is trivial, and it has not had a prejudicial effect on the ability of the defense to prepare, since the state is conceding the matter, and no further examination on this topic will take place. The court will give a curative instruction to the jury for them to disregard and not consider as evidence in this matter any testimony that has taken place concerning a conversation between Wendi Adelson and Jeffrey Lacasse as to the children's memories. You may bring in the witness. They might be using the bathroom, but once they're ready, yep. You can come back to the witness stand, Mr. Lacasse.
Just for the record, I conferred with defense counsel about the decision to do a curative instruction, even though it sounded like they weren't asking for it, and it sounds like they're in agreement with that procedure.
That's correct, Your Honor.
I wouldn't know why you would have an adverse.
Well, there could be an argument that it draws more attention to the information, so I just wanted to make sure that their agreement was clear for the record.
Mr. Zelvin, do you wish to have the curative or do you not?
The proposed curative is acceptable, Your Honor.
Very well. Everyone can be seated. Members of the jury, before the examination of this witness continues, I am going to give you a brief instruction. The last objection that was raised by the defense, it is being sustained. You are to disregard any testimony that has taken place by this witness concerning the issues of any statements or any conversation he had with Wendi Adelson about her children's memories. You are not to consider this as a part of the evidence in this case. You may continue with your examination.
Thank you, Judge. Around this same time frame, I guess we're talking about maybe March of 14, somewhere in there, did Wendi Adelson, actually strike that. I'm gonna move on to the coffee shop meeting. Familiar with that?
The June 4th coffee shop?
Yes, sir, June 4th, 2014. Did you have plans prior to that meeting to travel with Wendi Adelson over the time frame in which Dan Markel was ultimately killed?
Yeah, that's right. And on June 4th, I had planned to see Wendy and the kids at her house that night. Middle of the day, she called me to sort of an impromptu meeting at Red Eye over on Thomasville, and she abruptly canceled our trip for reasons that didn't make much sense.
When was the trip scheduled to happen?
The 11th to the 17th.
All right, so you would have returned home actually the day before the murder
Correct.
occurred. Okay, and did she express concern about not being home in time to pick up the children?
Yeah, the reason she canceled the trip was I'm worried we're going to get
No objection to hearsay?
Sustain unless there is an exception, Ms. Kappelman.
Goes to motive, Judge.
Overruled.
Don't care if they go on a trip or not. All right, sir, so the reason for not going on the trip?
The reason for not going on the trip was, well, it was tied up in a couple of things. First of all the stuff going on with Danny was a constant refrain. But given the stuff going on with Danny, she was concerned that she might not be back in time, even though our flight was to land the day before. And it wasn't, it's so odd to me. It wasn't winter. We're going through it. It's like LA to Atlanta to Tallahassee, leaving in the morning. I didn't see any real reason why that would be a problem.
She would have needed to pick up the kids on July 18th, right?
Yes, she knew that then. Their schedules were planned out for like months.
Okay, so you would have returned on the 17th, and she would have been picking up her children from preschool on the 18th.
Yeah, I think 5 p.m. on the 18th, which is why, I mean, I didn't object. I just said, okay, I didn't make a thing out of it, but it didn't make any sense.
Okay. And that, just for clarification, that conversation occurred on June 4th.
It did.
Okay, when was the next time you saw her after that coffee shop meeting?
Yeah, so that was mid-afternoon, and in the evening, I had plans to go see her and spend time with her and the kids. And then she had contacted me that she wasn't feeling well and I should like rush over there essentially. She had a stomach problem, so I got there as quickly as I could.
All right, so did you go to her residence that evening?
I did.
And what happened when you got there?
Well, on the way there, I remember contacting her and asking her, do you want me to stop and get some stomach medicine or something like that, and didn't. I believe she told me not to. Once I got there, she hemmed and hawed a little bit, and then eventually I left because she was a complete anxious wreck. She didn't have the flu, she didn't have food poisoning. She was just a nervous, anxious wreck, and it was affecting her stomach. So after a little while, I drove to a nearby convenience store to go get her Pepto-Bismol, which I recall because I have a credit card receipt from this random convenience store a few miles from her house.
All right, so she was a nervous wreck that night, and did she tell you what the problem was or not?
No, there was no discernible. I couldn't figure it out. She didn't tell me.
Okay. All right. Was there a time when you were over at Ms. Adelson's residence and you observed that her TV was broken?
Yes.
Okay, tell me about that. When did that occur?
That would have been around the week of June 11th to 18th, somewhere in that time period. I went over Wendy's to spend time with her and the kids, and she asked me to take a look at the television. I turned it on. She said there was a problem with the TV, so I turned it on expecting to see like input 1 flashing, or the kids pushed the wrong button or whatever. And what I'm looking at when I turn it on is a screen that's been partially shattered, that's been struck by an object. So she had a broken TV.
All right, and did she tell you what happened to the TV, how it got into that
No, she
state?
kind of asked me to look into the TV, as if she didn't know. I looked around. It was impossible to me that the kids would have done it, but I didn't know the better explanation at the time. So I was kind of mystified as to what happened. It looked like a human being, between 5 and 6 foot, something like that. It stood in front of it and hit it. That's what it looked like. But she was asking me.
Okay, so it was like an impact mark, like a round impact with spider webs.
Exactly, and then the pixels are distorted. Most people have probably seen this, so it's, and it wasn't completely shattered. You could sort of see what was going on the television, but it's not a TV anybody would normally watch.
Okay. All right, so let's move away from the TV for now. Was there a date that you had with Wendi Adelson on, gosh, have I gone backwards in time here? It was the day before her birthday. What was the date of that?
We were scheduled to have a date, the day before her birthday is April 21st. We were scheduled to have kind of a special date night that night. Wendi didn't answer her phone, didn't answer texts, and I got so concerned about her. A few hours after the date was supposed to have started, I just drove over there to check on her, knocked on the door for a while. She finally came to the door. Appeared to be intoxicated, and not just on alcohol. I mean, weary-eyed. I'm not sure what substances, but it wasn't good. She wanted me to stay, and I was annoyed enough that I actually just left. I didn't stay the night. So.
Okay, so I kind of got our timeline out of her, but some erratic behavior from her on April 21st and then again on June 4th. Is
That's
that
right.
Okay. I'm going to approach and show you a text message that was sent on June 28th of 2014. And I've marked it as States Exhibit 141. Have you ever had a chance to review this text message before?
Yeah, you showed this to me last week.
All right, and this message had never been shown to you before last week, right?
Right.
And it's been testified that this was from Wendi Adelson to her brother Rob Adelson, but it concerns you.
Yes.
Is there anything factually incorrect in what Wendi Adelson is stating in that text message?
Well, when she says I haven't told mom and dad about me, I met them multiple times. It's impossible that they didn't know we were dating. For example, I was aware that Donna wasn't thrilled that I wasn't Jewish, So that doesn't add it. This doesn't make sense to me in terms of like seeing me for 6 or 7 months.
So in that text message, she's saying, that you're a secret boyfriend from the parents. Were you a secret boyfriend from the parents at that time?
It's implausible. No, I don't think so.
In fact, you'd met the parents several times.
Yeah, and had conversations with them, limited conversations, but conversations. And the other part that's, I think, really significant is the kids talked about me constantly. I have all kinds of text messages and emails where Wendy's mentioning the kids are down in South Florida talking about me.
Judge, at this time, I'd ask to move into evidence states 141.
Any objection?
Can I see that, please? No objection.
States 141 is admitted at this time.
Okay, I want to draw your attention next to a disagreement that occurred with Wendi Adelson on June 29th of 2014. Do you recall that incident?
I do.
Okay. And at that time, did you confront Wendi about some suspicions you had that she was seeing other men?
Yeah, that was part of it. That was the main part of the disagreement. I also had spent the last 2 or 3 months concerned that she seemed to be stringing me along.
Where did the fight occur?
The fight occurred in Gainesville.
Okay, and I say fight, it was a verbal disagreement.
Verbal disagreement, and argument's not even the right word. We just exchanged words, yeah.
Okay, and did that exchange of words lead to an awkward drive together back to Tallahassee?
It did, a very awkward drive back to Tallahassee.
And that was?
That's the morning of It's the 29th or 30th. It's the 30th, the morning of the 30th.
Morning of June 30th.
Yes.
Okay. And after you parted ways, once you returned back to Tallahassee on the 30th, what was the status of your relationship over the next couple weeks?
Yeah. Well, we left that, when I left on the 30th, when he was clear that it wasn't over, but it wasn't great that we'd had this exchange either. So over the next couple weeks, we had phone calls, text messages, video chats with the kids. My take was, seems like it's probably going to be okay, but I didn't know for sure. It did string the relationship out another couple weeks when it easily could have ended.
When was the next time you saw her in person?
July 13th.
All right, so about, I guess that's the Sunday before the murder, is that right?
That's correct.
And where did you see her?
We went to dinner and a movie. I picked her up at her house at Aqua Ridge. We went to dinner and a movie and then returned there.
Okay, well, we're on the topic of Aqua Ridge. I'm gonna approach and show you what's been introduced in evidence. Is that in evidence, Ms. Diggin? That was in the PowerPoint, so you're not gonna find it. All right, we'll circle back to Aqua Ridge. So we're on the disagreement, didn't see her for a while, saw her on July 13th. And you were at her residence. What was the plan for that evening?
I didn't know. It was just to spend time together and maybe talk about the relationship some, but we were conversing. We had conversations.
Were the kids there that night?
They were not.
Okay, so it was just the two of you at the residence?
Just the two of us.
All right, and did the subject of relocation come up?
Yes.
In what context?
It came up in the context of whenever Wendi got back from Miami, she was always very upset about the fact that the relocation had previously been denied. I mean, it had been legally denied, but she wasn't over it. It was a constant refrain about how much she hated Tallahassee. So we're talking about the future of our relationship, and I'm asking, are you going to be here? Because with the constant complaining about how hard it was on her parents to transport the kids and just the constant complaining, I was just thinking, is she even going to be here? Is it worth trying to push forward in the relationship? And she said the only way that I'd ever relocate is if something would have to happen to Danny.
Subject to the same ruling at sidebar, the objection is overruled pending the other matters that do have to be addressed. You may continue, Ms. Kappelman.
Please repeat your answer.
Yeah, the only way she'd ever be able to relocate is if something happened to Danny, was the first statement.
Okay, and did she mention anything further about something
Well,
happening to Danny?
Can I give the context before the next?
Yes.
Yeah, so I was getting a little tired of this whole drama around the relocation. And so I pushed back on Wendi a little bit and said, like, you're going to have to kind of make your peace with this. You're going to have to take some responsibility for this. You're linked to Dan Markel for life. Kind of challenged her a little bit. And she said, well, can I tell you something confidentially? And I said, sure. And she said, last summer.
Objection. Going to repeat the same objection in our Senate court's ruling.
Same ruling remains. The objection is overruled. You may continue with your answer.
She
Can
said,
I tell you something in confidence?
yeah, can I tell you something? After I challenge her, can I tell you something in confidence? Sure. Well, last summer, my brother looked into all options possible to take care of the Danny Markel problem, including hiring a hitman, and it would cost about $15,000.
Okay, and when she referred to her brother, she's got 2 of those, right?
She said Charlie.
Okay. And when she said Charlie looked into hiring a hitman, are you familiar with Charlie's joke? I looked into hiring a hitman, but got you a TV as a divorce present because it was cheaper.
Yeah, Wendy had told me that joke a couple of times. This was not that joke.
Okay, so this was something different.
Yeah, the joke was said with levity. It's a dark joke, but well, this I found chilling. I found disturbing. It made my stomach flip. It kind of took me aback. It was, she was dead serious when she
Okay.
said this, and she'd asked to tell me in confidence, which you don't do before you tell a joke.
Okay. So I want to take you to the next day then. So we're at July 14th, the Monday before the murder.
Yes.
Did you see Wendi Adelson on that date?
Yes, we had contact throughout the day trying to arrange some kind of date. It kind of ebbed and flowed. But she was real enthusiastic about seeing me at one point, and then like mid-afternoon, let's just meet at yoga is what was decided. So we went to yoga.
Okay. What happened after yoga?
Well, I was wondering why we were at yoga, because when he was being very strange, I felt like the relationship was over. She wasn't feeling well. I'm not a big yoga guy, so I didn't understand why we were at yoga for like 80 minutes, stretching. But then when we left yoga, we barely spoke, and I was just getting a vibe that this is over. Tried to talk about the relationship, didn't go very well. It was pretty clear to me. My internal thoughts were like, well, this is over. And she didn't want to spend time with me the rest of the week, so I just put my hands up like this. I remember this vividly, and just turned around and walked away.
Where were you when that was happening?
We're in the parking lot of Journey's Yoga over by Winn-Dixie.
Okay, so you have your 2 respective vehicles there, and
Yes.
you're parting ways.
Yes.
Okay, what happens as you walk away?
Get about 10, 15 feet away from her, and she calls after me. I turn around, and she had a series of detailed questions about what I would be doing on Friday. I had a trip to Tennessee planned, and she wanted to know if I was going on that trip, and she wanted to know what route I would be taking. And if I didn't go on the trip, why wouldn't I go on the trip? And I answered the questions as best I could, but I was confused why, at that moment, she wanted to know the details of what I was doing on Friday, when she expressly didn't want to spend time with me on Friday.
Okay, and we now know that Dan Markel was murdered on Friday.
Yes.
Right? If you had taken the trip as planned, which is as you reported to Wendi that day, what would your route have been?
I would have left my house at about 11 a.m., which Wendy knew. I'd related my plan to her earlier in the relationship. Needed to get to Atlanta for dinner, and was worried about traffic and stuff like that. So I would have left at 11, and I would have driven down. I would have got to Capitol Circle in Thomasville, which is close enough to Danny's house that it kind of gave me the creeps. It was kind of weird. Yeah.
Okay, so physically, you're saying you might have been sort of consistent with where how the killers fled town.
Yeah.
Okay, and after this yoga date and the discussion of your travel plans, did you get an email from Wendi?
I did.
I'm gonna publish what's been introduced into evidence as states 64 GG. Is this the email she sent you after the yoga date?
Yes.
All right, so is she breaking up with you? Is that clear?
No, she's asking, well, I considered based on our interaction, I thought this is over. I had told Wendy if she wanted to break up with me, she doesn't like confrontation, just send me an email or text. She sends me this, which strings everything out for another week. So she's not breaking up. Functionally, that's realistically, I'm not dumb, I'm thinking we're over. But she's asking for another week, which brings it to the 21st of July. And I was puzzled. I wondered what in the world is going to happen July 21st. But I just didn't respond because she asked for no contact.
All right, so she wants to have no contact for a week.
Right.
was able to find that photo I was looking for earlier, 86A. I can show you that. You recognize 86A?
Yeah, that's Wendy's, Adelson's residence on Aqua Ridge, and that's what it looked like when we were dating.
Okay. Moving to evidence 86A.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
86A is admitted at this time.
May I publish?
You may.
All right, so I blurred the boys' faces, but this is how the residents at Aqua Ridge appeared.
Yes.
And the kids' art that's shown on the wall here, was that present during the time that you were dating Wendi Adelson?
Yes.
Was it something that like, you know, art would come down and other art would go up, or was it pretty fixed?
It was, maybe some art would get added, but I never saw any come down until July 14th.
All right.
13th, sorry, July 13th.
July 13th, you noticed that the art had been taken down?
We walked into the kitchen, and then Wendi was pulling art off the wall, the only time I'd ever seen her do that.
Okay. And I want to ask you about, I've nicknamed it the celebration dinner. Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
topic? Okay. Could you tell the jury about that, please?
Yeah.
Objection, Your Honor. Calls for hearsay. I understand the court's prior rule.
Objection is overruled.
Wendi and I reestablished phone contact about 10 days after the murder. She called me, and we had a couple, 3 or 4 phone calls. In one of them, she related that her and Charlie had gone to what Charlie called a celebration dinner, and at that dinner, Charlie said something to her. She didn't specify what it was, and she spontaneously vomited all over the table.
Are you aware, sir, that you were suggested as a potential suspect in
Yes.
this murder? Where were you when Dan Markel was murdered?
I was in Tennessee because I had left on my trip the night before.
So
Rather
you
than this-
changed your plan.
I changed my plans at the last minute.
All right, and you provided law enforcement with some receipts and things to prove that you were in Tennessee at the time?
All that, and I got a flat tire, so I ended up getting videotaped at a Kmart. And I know the TPD used that to exclude me with the timestamp on the surveillance footage.
May I have one moment, Your Honor? At some point, did you learn that the killers came to Tallahassee in June, not just in July?
Yes, when the arrests were made and the documents were released, I learned that, yes.
And did you put together some facts about your travel plans that day that could have potentially made you a suspect on that trip as well if the murder had happened as
Yeah,
planned?
that Friday, I was scheduled to go to a business trip in Gainesville, leaving at 11 a.m. So 2 times in 2014, I leave town on a trip by myself in my car, and both times hitmen are in town trying to kill Danny Markel, once successfully, obviously.
Are you familiar with the type of vehicle that was originally rented by the killers in June to make that June trip?
I am.
Okay. And was that significant to you?
Yeah, I mean, this is long after this all happened. I'm learning this from court proceedings in 2016. But when I heard they rented a gray Altima initially, I had a 2004 Nissan Sentra. That freaked me out because that's about as close as you were going to get to my car on the rental market.
Right. I'm going to show you what I've marked as State's Demonstrative Exhibit G. You recognize this exhibit?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, is this the make and model of the, it's not the actual rental car, but the make and model of the rental car compared to the make and model of your vehicle?
Yeah, my car's right on top. That looks just like the car I had at the time.
Permission to publish G, Your Honor?
You may.
I have one more moment to confer, please.
cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor, just a moment. Good morning.
Good morning.
And it's Dr. Lacasse, correct?
Jeff is fine. Mr. Lacasse is fine.
You testified that it was your understanding that my client, Donna Adelson, was aware of the motion that the state has called the grandmother motion.
Yes.
Okay. Do you know how she took that?
It was I'm hearing this stuff from Wendi.
Okay.
Um,
Well, do you know how she took it?
I mean, I wasn't there to observe her reaction. The whole family was upset about every one of these motions, was my impression, information coming from Wendi.
Okay. And so the only person that you spoke with about how the family took things was from Wendi?
Putting Charlie's,
Aside from Charlie in the hospital,
aside from Charlie in the hot tub, it was all through Wendi. That's correct, sir.
isn't it true that you found Wendi, let me find the exact quote. Didn't you find Wendi to be a deeply deceitful person?
Yes, depending on the topic. I mean, that's true. But a lot of the stuff she told me about her family was later released in evidence. I'm talking about the kids getting.
Your Honor,
Yeah.
I'd move to strike that response.
To stay, Mr. Lacoste, you are only to respond to the question that you are asked. Members of the jury, the portions of the answer that were non-responsive, you were not to consider. You may continue.
Thank you, Your Honor. And you yourself do not have any personal knowledge as to how my client, Donna Adelson, took the grandmother motion, do you?
No.
Isn't it true that you only had limited small talk with my client, Donna Adelson?
That's correct.
Now let's talk about the damage to the television that you observed in June of 2014. Can you tell us again how you described that?
Yeah, there was a spider web pattern, like in the center of the screen, and it radiates outwards. Anywhere it's been cracked, it will pixelate. So you can see what's going on, you can track it, but it's not pleasant, and you would never watch that TV. And we watched a whole movie on that TV at Wendy's insistence, which was why I remember this. It was a very strange evening.
Didn't you suggest going to watch the movie on another TV?
Yes, I did. There was a perfectly good TV in the other room. That's correct.
And she made a fuss.
I tried to respect Wendy's boundaries, her house, her kids, so she didn't have to make a fuss. It's an awkward situation dating someone who has, 2 kids, so I'm not insisting on anything. But the kids were whining about the broken TV. That is correct, sir.
Made it difficult to even really watch or enjoy the movie.
That's right.
Could you tell us about how big that impact was?
Fist-sized.
Adult or child?
I don't remember with that precision.
You testified, let's see, about a statement that Wendi Adelson said to you on July 13th of 2014, that she wanted to say to you in confidence.
Yes.
And it was that her brother looked into hiring a hitman.
Her brother, Charlie.
Her brother Charlie.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Just a moment, Your Honor. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Redirect examination.
No, Your Honor.
You may step down, Mr. Lacasse. Please call your next witness.